Episode 63, Appalachia's Most Haunted. Hey y'all, I'm Heather, and this is Poison Appalachia, the dark side of Appalachia. As always, thank you for listening. Last week's episode on rural legends was fun to do. I hope y'all enjoyed it. This week, I want to cover some of the most haunted places in Appalachia. I've done episodes on some of these places, but not all of them, so I just want to do a fun little episode about some of the most scary places of Appalachia. We're going to take a little road trip. Let's start with the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. I did a whole episode on this, and you can find out a lot more detail about it on that episode. More European castle than American hospital, this former insane asylum offers historic and paranormal tours 6 days a week from April through October. Full museum and patient art gallery entry is included with your tour purchase. This Gothic National Historic Landmark holds 130 years of America's history's dark side. That's straight from the website. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum was a psychiatric hospital located in Weston, West Virginia, and known by other names such as the West Virginia Hospital for the Insane and the Weston State Hospital. This asylum was open to patients from October 1864 until May 1994. Some of the ghosts that haunt there are as follows. There's a ghost named Lily who was born inside the asylum. Her mother was admitted after the Civil War, unaware she was pregnant with Lily. The mother would end up dying from childbirth, leaving the nurses to care for little Lily. At age 9, Lily contracted pneumonia and died. Those who go to visit her room and will leave toys for her to play with. Some have even sworn they've seen a toy or two move. There's another spirit named Elizabeth who is known to roam the hallways of the asylum. Not much is known about her other than that she was a nurse at one point. There's a ghost either named Jesse or James, depending on who asks, who used to reside in the asylum. The story goes that he had a heart failure in the bathtub, and his spirit remains in the bathroom to this day. There's a story of two sadistic patients who attempted to hang another patient. They tried several times with little success. They decided to go several steps beyond that, several bloody, horrifying steps. They forced the patient's head underneath the bedpost and proceeded to jump on the bed repeatedly. The patient died. I remember that from my podcast episode about the asylum, and he was like a special needs patient. I guess everybody loved him, but those two guys, of course. So that was a really sad one. But the spirits of those two patients have taken form of black shadows. They're known to suck the life and energy out of any room they enter. People feel very uncomfortable and ill around their presence. There's a spirit called Slewfoot. Whoever this person is, used to be, remains a mystery. All that's known about him is that he used to be a horrendous murderer who would kill people in the upstairs bathroom. They say he still roams upper floors to this day. If you want to check all out, you can visit March through November, Tuesday to Sunday. It's closed on Mondays. And then they have a ton of events around Halloween, so you should definitely check it out. Check out their website for more details at transalleghenylunaticsasylum.com. Let's head on over to Kentucky. Black Mountain in Harlan County, Kentucky is considered haunted due to its history of coal mining tragedies and folklore, with popular ghost stories including the legend of Headless Annie, a girl beheaded during a 1930s mine strike, and sightings of an Appalachian hellhound. The area also has a reputation for hauntings related to the violence of the Bloody Harlan era and the deep mines themselves. The Cherokee, Chickasaw, and Shawnee were there long before Europeans got there, and they had many tales of spirits that were seen. So there's always been something mysterious about the area. Black Mountain is the largest peak in Kentucky. The region steeped in a history of violence with the Bloody Harlan era, referring to a series of violent labor disputes between miners and mining companies that lasted for nearly a decade in the 1930s. Which brings us to one of the ghost stories. The legend of Headless Annie dates back to this time in the 1930s. It was a tumultuous era in Harlan County when coal mining was not only hazardous, but also fraught with violence and conflict. Which I've discussed this in some of my other episodes about the coal mining and wanting to unionize. It was a very violent time everywhere. During this time, mining companies hired men to intimidate and attack miners who were advocating for unionization. The story goes that Annie, a young girl, and her mother were brutally murdered in front of Annie's father, a miner who was leading the charge for better working conditions. After forcing him to watch the heinous act, they killed him as well, leaving their bodies in a gruesome state. Ever since, Annie's spirit has been seen wandering the winding roads of Black Mountain, either headless or holding her severed head in her hands. Also, people have seen the Appalachian hellhound on Black Mountain. This is a large dark, dog-like creature is said to haunt the back mountain roads of Kentucky and West Virginia, with sightings on Black Mountain quite frequently. One of the mines that is supposedly haunted is called Portal 31, and you can actually tour this place. It's a mine museum now. Stories of ghostly sightings of eerie occurrences, such as the apparitions of dead miners and strange sounds emanating from the mine. These tales are widely reported by locals and are explored in books and other media that detail the mine's history and its paranormal activity. Visitors and locals have reported hearing moaning sounds and seeing unexplained lights and apparitions. One story involves a former miner who claims to have seen a ghost of a friend who died in an accident emerging from the mine. Not sure I'd want to take that tour. I couldn't find the hours, but it says it's best to make a reservation. And the address is 1 Portal 31 Circle, Lynch, Kentucky. So if you're interested in that, check it out. Let's head on over to Tennessee to visit the Bell Witch Cave. I did an episode on the Bell Witch last year. It's a crazy story, and it's kind of long, so if you want to know more about that, definitely check it out. This is directly from the website for the Bell Witch Cave. It says, widely considered by ghost hunters and paranormal investigators as America's oldest haunted location, the story of the Bell family dates back to 1804. John Bell moved his wife Lucy and their children from North Carolina to Robertson County, Tennessee, where he purchased 320 acres of farmland along the Red River. The family lived a peaceful life for 13 years, but in the summer of 1817, the family would experience things that would change their lives forever. What started as seeing strange animals on the farm led to hearing eerie sounds in their cabin. Several accounts varied on who or what was causing the disturbances or why they were tormenting the Bell family. The sounds the family heard escalated into a voice speaking directly to them until it could be heard in every room of the house, while especially terrorizing John's youngest daughter Betsy with beatings that left her unconscious. The notoriety of this unseen force spread throughout the countryside and left the Bell family with people camping out on their farm by the hundreds, hoping to witness the strange phenomenon. This Bell Witch, as it became known as, vowed to kill John Bell and subsequently took credit for his death 3 years later on December 20th, 1820, when a vial was found next to his deathbed with strange liquid inside. John's Bell death was attributed to the Bell Witch, making Tennessee the only state to recognize a person's death to be supernatural. The Bell Witch, also known for her accurate predictions of the future and her vows for John Bell's children of her return in future years. Did the Bell Witch return, or did she ever leave? We'll let you decide, it says. The historic Bell Witch Cave has preserved some of the artifacts from the original Bell cabin, such as a chimney stone and an iron kettle. You can see these items along with news articles, photos, and other artifacts of the same time period in which John Bell and his family resided there when touring the reconstructed John Bell cabin. A 40-minute drive from Nashville, the historic Bell Witch Cave is located in a secluded area in Adams, Tennessee, and is a very beautiful representation of our state with its rolling green hills and farmland. If you're interested in the paranormal, enjoy hearing famous documented folklore, or simply love our history, the historic Bell Witch Cave and John Bell Cabin are a must in your travel plans. So, I've seen where people have visited it, and they say that, it's not quite the same since it's reconstructed, but still, there's a cave there, and supposedly you can still occasionally get glimpses of the Bell Witch. So, while we're in Tennessee, let's visit Brushy Mountain Prison. One of my earliest episodes was on Brushy Mountain Prison. It's also named Brushy Mountain Penitentiary, Brushy Mountain Correctional Complex, or unofficially, Brushy. It was a maximum security prison in the community of Petros in Morgan County, Tennessee, or Petros, I'm not sure which, operated by the Tennessee Department of Correction. It was established in 1896 and operated until 2009. Beginning in 2018, the site has been transformed into a tourist destination, offering tours, events, concerts, and foot races, along with the restaurant and distillery. There have been a couple of famous inmates there, including James Earl Ray, the convicted assassin Martin Luther King Jr. Other inmates include Brian Looper, who was convicted in 2000 murder of State Senator Tommy Burks, and began serving his life sentence at Brushy Mountain before it closed. Paul Dennis Reed, a serial killer known for the fast food killer who served part of his time on death row, which I actually did an episode about him. And then George Hyatt is one of the perpetrators of the 2005 Kingston courthouse shooting. He was in prison at Brushy Mountain at the time of the incident. Sickness and violence ran rampant in the often overcrowded prison, and there were many murders. Bodies were reportedly stacked in unmarked mass graves. There was an estimated 10,000 deaths over the history of Brushy Mountain. With that many people dying there, I'm sure that there are more than a few ghosts haunting around. Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary is considered haunted due to its history of brutal conditions and numerous inmate deaths, and paranormal activity is widely reported. Visitors and ghost hunting groups claim to have experienced paranormal phenomena there, and locations are popular for paranormal tours and TV shows. You can visit Brushy Mountain for tours. They're closed December 1st through March 31st, but seem to be open the rest of the year. You can also do paranormal tours overnight with reservations. Cowhee Tunnel. This is a sad one. I never heard this story until I was looking up most haunted places in Appalachia. This is a story from the Only in North Carolina website, is what it's called, Only in North Carolina. On the freezing cold morning of December 30th, 1882, a group of 30 convicts belonging to a chain gang entered a boat on the eastern side of the Tuskegee River. The water was frigid, and heavy puddles from a rainstorm the night before sloshed on the boat as it began to make its way to its destination, the 700-foot-long Cowhee Tunnel. The tunnel was constructed prior to the railroad line to keep up with construction. As the men began to grow weary of the large puddles of water forming on the boat, and the cable line attached to the boat pulled them nearer to their destination deep within the wild and untamed mountains, some passengers became fearful the boat was beginning to drown. Police guards yelled at the men to calm down, but the panic had been sparked, and the prisoners began to push towards the front of the boat. With constant back and forth commotion, the boat capsized into the frozen river. Being bound together by a chain, the men desperately tried to keep their heads above water and swim to the shore. Onlookers watched from the banks, no one making a genuine effort to help the 19 terrified men besides one convict, Anderson Drake. Drake climbed out of the river only to jump back in and save prison guard Fleet Foster. One by one, each entangled in the other, began to sink to the bottom. As those still above the water cried and screamed for help, the 11 other convicts and guards left on the boat were swept down the river. Eventually, a still silence in the air, all the men drowned beneath the freezing cold of the water of the Tuskegee River. The men were buried in unmarked mass graves on a mountain near the tunnel, and their families often never knew what became of them. Over the years, Cowhee Tunnel remained a spot for frequent disasters and mishaps. There were train derailments, cave-ins, a pitch-black blind curve in the middle of the tunnel that jolted train conductors and caused severe accidents. This disaster has led to claims of the tunnel being haunted. Some of the haunting claims are as follows. Visitors report hearing ghostly sounds of men panicking, chains rattling, pickaxes striking rock, and even explosions. The constant dripping of the water inside the tunnel is as the tears of the drowned men, especially after rain. The constant dripping of darkness can create a feeling of being watched, and some experience a sense of dread. During the filming of The Fugitive, a mysterious face with a hat was allegedly captured on a film in a staged train crash scene within the tunnel, which some believe is a ghost from the disaster. Today, the Cowhee Tunnel is somewhat hard to access, but can be found along the Great Smoky Mountain Railroad. The Cowhee Tunnel disaster is indeed one of the greatest tragic occurrences in western North Carolina. Now, I've actually been on that railroad before, but I didn't know anything about this disaster, so if they would have said the Cowhee Tunnel, I probably would have had no idea what it was. But I just thought that was interesting that I'd actually been on that railroad trip. West Virginia Penitentiary. I did a whole episode on this place, too. The West Virginia Penitentiary, located in Moundsville, West Virginia, is now a withdrawn and retired Gothic-style prison that operated from 1866 to 1995. The site is now being maintained as a tourist attraction, museum, training facility, and filming location. Though the prisoners are gone, they're not forgotten, and by many accounts, the ghosts of some of the 998 men who died there still roam free. There's a shadow man that's been seen and even photographed. Staff of the prison have been accosted by unseen forces, strange noises still echo throughout the cell blocks, and something dark lurks in the bowels of the building. During its 119-year life as a penitentiary, the facility held some of the most violent killers, rapists, and other criminals, many of whom never left the institution alive. It comes as no surprise that this type of environment would leave behind more than a few wandering spirits. Another reason for this old building to be haunted is because it's said that it was built on an ancient Native American burial ground. This would not be hard to believe, as the old prison was built directly across from the Grave Creek Mound, one of the largest conical type burial mounds in the United States. Members of the Adena culture moved more than 60,000 tons of dirt to create it in about 250 to 150 BC. Some believe that negative energy from the deceased Native Americans infiltrated the prison, resulting in many of the paranormal events which have occurred there. The North Wagon Gate, the prison's oldest structure, is said to be home of one of the prison's most active ghosts. This area once held the execution gallows where a man named Orville Atkins was hanged in 1938. Here, visitors say the area exudes an evil feeling as if they feel it, and they feel as if they're being watched. Mysterious sounds and voices have been captured in EVP, and ghosts of the condemned are sometimes seen. A gate is haunted by Orville Atkins, who was condemned for kidnapping a minister who was later found dead. However, his execution was botched, and the noose was being placed around his head, a nervous attendant pulled the trap door too quickly, and Orville fell 20 feet to the stone walkway. Though he was stunned and hurt, he was still alive. He was then pulled back up to the scaffold and hanged correctly. His footsteps are said to be heard slowly pacing back and forth. The North Hall is where the prisoners' worst offenders were placed, not for the crimes they committed outside, but for the violent behavior on the inside. Though they were locked down to their cells for 23 hours a day, 2 murders occurred here. One was a biker named Danny, who was stabbed in the eye by another inmate and died of hemorrhages. The other was William Red Snyder, who was convicted of murdering his parents and dismembering their corpses. Red was disliked by many inmates and involved in several fights. In the end, he was attacked in front of his cell and fatally stabbed 37 times. The hall has been the site of many strange events, including photographed anomalies. I can never say that word. Photographed anomalies, equipment malfunctions, the sound of cell doors banging when no one's there. Many have reported feeling very uncomfortable there. Red Snyder's cell is said to be particularly haunted. In the solitary confinement area, people have often reported feeling cold spots and as if they've been touched on the backs. Other hotspots include death row, the psych ward, chapel, shower cages, dining room, and boiler room. There is one particular entity called the Shadow Man because he lurks in dark places and has no visible features. He's been described as appearing like a dark shadow that's very intimidating. Throughout the prison, visitors and staff report seeing glimpses of apparitions, smelling unpleasant odors, strange noises and echoes, feeling of being watched, and a disembodied voice that says, "Help, I am trapped." Visitors have felt brushed, tapped, and even shoved by invisible hands, and cameras have captured ghostly mists, faces, figures, and orbs. Some have seen the ghosts and prisoners in uniforms walking the halls and disappearing into walls. The West Virginia Penitentiary is considered one of the most haunted prisons in all of the United States today. It's also listed on the National Historic Register. It's also listed on the National Register of Historic Places. All right, so let's go back down to South Carolina. I should have did this when we were in Tennessee. Poinsett Bridge. It's the oldest bridge in South Carolina and perhaps the entire southeastern United States. Named for Joel Roberts Poinsett, it was built in 1820 as part of an old bunkum road from Columbia, South Carolina to Saluda Mountain. The stone bridge, which includes a 14-foot Gothic arch and stretches 130 feet over Little Gap Creek, may have been designed by Robert Mills, architect of the Washington Monument. Though no longer in use, the bridge remains largely intact and is part of the 400-acre Poinsett Bridge Heritage Preserve. There is a nature trail a few hundred yards from the bridge. The bridge, about which ghost stories have been told for decades, is located off U.S. Highway 25 north of Greenville, South Carolina. The bridge was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1970. Side note here, Joel Roberts Poinsett, whom the bridge was named after, was the first ambassador to Mexico, and while there, he introduced the plant that ended up being named after him to the United States, the poinsettia. According to local folklore, Poinsett Bridge was built on the site of an old Indian burial ground dating back to when Cherokees were the only inhabitants of the mountains of the Carolinas, Georgia, and Tennessee. Other stories go that some of the men who worked to build Poinsett Bridge died during the bridge's construction due to a variety of illnesses, one of which was malaria. These men were then supposedly buried under and even within the bridge itself, perhaps to save time or to memorialize those who had died while hard at work. As some of the workers passed away as the bridge was being completed, the bodies were buried within the structure itself, says Blue Ridge resident Michael Morgan. It is perhaps plausible that at least some of the work crew died from sickness or natural disaster during the course of the nearly 4-month long project for building Poinsett Bridge. Whether or not they were buried within the bridge seems open to conjecture. Finally, another source of speculation includes a supposed slave killing at or near Poinsett Bridge. According to one legend, a slave was once hung under Poinsett Bridge with his ghost, and his ghost still haunts it, says Taylor's resident Doris Davis. The story includes the least amount of detail and, in fact, several different versions. One version states that the female slave was hung from the bridge, another gives that the slave was beheaded near the bridge by an unkind master. Visitors have reported ghostly encounters and eerie events that do not seem to have a logical explanation. Those who visit the bridge at night have reported a variety of odd sights and sounds. People claim they see orbs or floating lights. Others said they can hear screams echoing from under the bridge. Many visitors have reported sudden and inexplicable car trouble when they try to leave. Over the years, the haunting tales and local legends surrounding the bridge have drawn several paranormal investigators in the area. In 2019, Poinsett Bridge was named one of the 30 most haunted places in America by the magazine Condé Nast Traveler. If you want to visit it, you'll have to wait until next spring as they're doing renovations at the Poinsett Bridge Heritage Preserve. So it'll be closed for preservation project from Monday, September 29th through Tuesday, March 31st, 2026. The property is expected to reopen to the public on Wednesday, April 1st, 2026. During this time, all access to the property will be closed. The last place we're going to visit is Point Pleasant, West Virginia. This one seems weird to me because I'm super close to it, so I don't really see it that way. But on almost every list about haunted places in Appalachia, Point Pleasant, West Virginia is listed. I live directly across the river from Point Pleasant. I've lived here most of my life, and to me, it's just a little small river town like every other small river town. Except for one thing, the Mothman. I guess that in and of itself would be enough to put a small town on lists like that, although I wouldn't think it would be on the most haunted list. So why is Point Pleasant, West Virginia? West Virginia on all the lists? Let's take a look into it a little deeper. Let's start with the Mothman himself. I did an episode on him. It's one of my earlier episodes. Check it out. But if you don't know who the Mothman is a winged creature associated with Point Pleasant, West Virginia area, where sightings began in 1966. Described as a large winged humanoid figure with glowing red eyes, the creature is often linked to the collapse of the Silver Bridge, which occurred in 1967 and killed 46 people. The Mothman has since become a local legend, and the town embraces the story through a museum, a statue, and annual festival. And the festival is huge. Mothman is good business for Point Pleasant, West Virginia, for sure. But when you look into it, Point Pleasant has a lot of mysterious things that happen there. It's like our own Erie, Indiana. Anyone remember that show? Probably not, but I loved it. It was out in the early 90s. There's no denying that the southeastern corner of Ohio and the surrounding area of West Virginia is considered by many to be one of the most haunted areas of the country. West Virginia has long been thought of as one of the strangest parts of the country in regards to ghosts, legends, and strange happenings. This part of the country, which was originally part of Virginia, was regarded by the Native Americans as a haunted spot, plagued with ghost lights, phantoms, and strange creatures. The town of Parkersburg, just north of the river from Point Pleasant, has more than its share of ghosts, and nearby Athens County, Ohio, is one of the most haunted cities in the entire state. How did this region gain such a reputation? Why are so many people not surprised to find the stories of Mothman, fan inhabitants, and mysterious creatures roaming this part of the country? There have been a number of theories to explain the large number of haunted happenings here, including that this area may be some sort of window between dimensions. This would, according to theories, allow paranormal phenomena to come and go and vanish at will, just as the Mothman did after 13 months of appearing around Point Pleasant. The concept of a dimensional portal is a key component of John Keel's work and was a popular legend in the Mothman prophecies. Keel theorized that Point Pleasant was a window area through which creatures, entities, and phenomena from other dimensions could pass into our world. Also, some say Point Pleasant, West Virginia is on a ley line. Point Pleasant's associated with ley lines primarily through its connection to the Mothman and its geographical position in a region of supposed paranormal activity. The concept of ley lines, which are hypothetical energy lines believed to connect ancient and sacred sites, is not scientifically proven phenomena, but is a popular part of folklore and paranormal interest. Ley lines are straight tracks or lines or energy grids that encircle the globe in every direction. The ancients marked these lines with stone monuments and pagan temples. Our ancient ancestors could feel the magic and the power emanating from these energy lines. They set up natural sanctuaries and called the intersections of ley lines their sacred sites. But are these ley lines still in existence? How do these ancient ley lines affect us in modern times? And how can we find local ley lines and harness this energy? So you can look it up on Google and find ley lines and read into that. It is definitely very metaphysical and kind of out there, but it's kind of interesting too. But let's go back to the Mothman part. If we look at some of the world's most important ancient sites on a map, we can draw straight lines between them. These lines form a grid-like pattern across the globe. Stonehenge, the Great Pyramids of Giza, and Machu Picchu are sacred sites that connect to other sites via ley lines. Also, the Serpent Mound definitely has a ley line through it. If you look at the things, that's one of the intersections. So if Point Pleasant's on a ley line and you believe that metaphysical energy, then it stands to reason why weird things may happen here. There's an old hotel there in Point Pleasant that has been redone called the Low Hotel and is supposed to be haunted. Side note here, I went to prom there in the 90s and they were just remodeling it at the time. I didn't see anything haunted in it or anything, but it was definitely kind of spooky. There was like a vibe there for sure. It felt like it was haunted, if that makes sense, but I didn't see anything. And that was before I even knew the place was supposed to be haunted. The Low Hotel was originally opened between 1901 and 1904 under the name of Spencer Hotel. It was owned and operated by two brothers, Homer and Griff Smith, and was named for J.F. Spencer, a friend of the brothers. And he was a financial backer of the hotel and local lawyer and judge. The Smiths owned the building until it was purchased in 1929 by Homer D. Lowe, who renamed it the Low Hotel. Lowe was the son of hotel owners in Spencer, West Virginia, and grew up in the hotel business. When Lowe acquired the building, he changed more than a name. He put a stop to the backroom gambling and prostitution that was previously allowed and opened up portions of the hotel for the use of civic and church groups. Lowe passed the hotel down to his son, Homer Lowe Jr., in 1945. Homer Jr. finally retired in 1987 and put the hotel up for sale. It was purchased by Rush and Mary Ruth Finley in 1990, still owned by them today. The hotel said to be haunted. I got this from hauntworld.com website, and I condensed it a little bit, but this is what it said. The mezzanine between the first and second floors is home to one of the most famous of the Low ghosts. A beautiful woman is seen dancing by music only she can hear. She's barefoot, wearing a nightgown, and has long flowing hair. It's rumored that she's the ghost of Juliet Smith, Homer Smith's middle child, and his only daughter. On the second floor, a small child between 2 to 3 years is seen riding a tricycle, which makes me think of The Shining. Most often, the child is seen solid as a real person, and is so concentrated on the ride that she makes no eye contact or interaction with witnesses. Other times, only the sounds of laughter or the squeak of tricycle wheels is heard. The third floor is the most active. Guests and employees have heard someone whistling when no one's around and report a sudden chill and sense that someone is watching them. Transoms over the doors are often found in the opposite position than that in which they were left, and cleaning supplies are found lying around where no employee has been to clean. They assume this must be the ghost of a former maid. The next third floor ghost is that of Captain Jim, who resides in a 3-room suite, probably 316. Captain Jim was first reported in 2005 by a woman staying in the hotel during a local festival. Research shows that the man by the name of Captain James Jimmy O'Brien was the captain for the Homer Smith steamboat in 1915. Also on the third floor is a man with a beard and wearing 1930s style clothing. On the fourth floor ballroom, it's said that sounds of the string quartet can be heard playing day or night. Over the years, multiple sites in Point Pleasant have been rumored to be haunted, especially near where Fort Randolph once stood. Visitors reported hearing disembodied voices, seeing shadow figures along the riverbank, and even feeling a deep sense of unease around Tuwandowee State Park, where Chief Cornstalk is buried. And I don't know if you've listened to my first episode, which is about Chief Cornstalk. He supposedly cursed this area, so that could be another reason why this area is more haunted than others. Some ghosts have claimed to contact spirits believed to be Native American, while others say it's picked up strange activity during Mothman-related investigations. The energy in this small town is definitely different. So, I hope you enjoyed this little trip through some haunted places in Appalachia. What's your favorite place? Mine, of course, would be Point Pleasant. But I'd love to go to the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. I've never been there. So, spooky month's almost over, and I'm so sad. Next week, we'll be back to true crime and other stuff. Well, I guess not next week. It's Haunted State Week. But then we'll get back to our normal routine. I've had fun this month. I hope you have too. I hope you've enjoyed it. As always, thank you for listening. You can follow me on social media under Poison Appalachia. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, Lemonade, TikTok, Blue Sky, and YouTube. Also, this month on my social media, I've been doing 31 Days of Appalachian Cryptids, so if you're online, check that out too. I think it's been kind of fun. If you could, on the podcast platform you listen to, please like and rate me and share me, please. Share me, share me, share me. Let everyone know about the podcast. Thanks, y'all, and have a great week.